about to come in, I think. Thank you.
Well, we never can tell. It's early.
Did you see the food ordinance?
Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner, Precinct 1.
Present.
Devin Allen, Commissioner, Precinct 2. Here. Gary Fickus, Commissioner, Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner, Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Here.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Chris Alford. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Let us bow our head to the Lord. Gracious Father, in the name of Jesus this morning, Father, we are honored to be here, and because you made it possible. I want to thank you, Lord, for all those that you made it possible to be here. Father, I want to thank you as we come before your throne at this moment, as we open this assembly of governance for your people. Lord, that you will help our court members. Father, in the deliberations, Father, that you will help speak through all the speakers this morning. Lord, that whatever is the thought, whatever issues are going to come up, Father, that the spirit of love and unity for our county, for our community, for our country will prevail, and that the decisions that were made this morning, Lord, will be those that will go to edify you, to honor you, and to lift up our community and country. Thank you, Father, this morning as we proceed to the end of this year. We thank you for all that has been accomplished. May all the glory be unto you. So we thank you, Father, that as we go through this period of Christmas, Lord, that even with the onslaught of the new Omicron virus and all the ones that have preceded it, Father, that with you we trust that we will continue to fight this battle and that we will remain a healthy nation. May your name be glory in all that we achieve. I want to pray these things this morning in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the court. Just a couple of comments as it relates to the agenda this morning. We did provide some additional backup material for you in your red folder this morning. It dealt mainly with item number 1 under the county administrator section. Also, we laid before you some information dealing with the Arlington Board of Realtors at your desk this morning. Also, we're going to have a presentation on that particular item today. In fact, as we talk about that particular item, we're going to move that up on the agenda. It was a briefing item, and we'd like to move it up, and we'll be moving it up before we get into our presentation concerning the pandemic and the coronavirus. Also, members of the court, as you can tell, we're getting very close to the end of the year. Our final court meeting for calendar year 21 is going to be next Tuesday, which is the 28th. It is an abbreviated court hearing. We are in the process of only allowing emergency items. The auditor will have her items on there also. HR will have their items and budget will have their items. Everything else will be restricted to emergency items only. That should be a fairly short court meeting. We're not going to have a briefing on COVID at that time, just something to come in and take care of some administrative business and then adjourn. So with that, Your Honor, members of court, those are our comments for today.
Thank you. We have no proclamations today. Court members, do y'all have anything you wish to, any announcements you wish to make?
Just to wish all of our residents of Tarrant County the merriest of holiday seasons and the happiest of New Years. I claim a better year for 2022.
Hope so. Everybody's been through it. I would echo that. Thank you, Commissioner Brooks.
Commissioner Fickus, Commissioner Johnson?
Just
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
a better year.
I will echo that and just add, get the vaccinations. We can
Yeah, it ain't gonna happen by itself.
we can get through this, I really believe, but I think the vaccinations are a key to it. And I hope everybody will get the vaccinations if you haven't gotten them already, and get the booster if you haven't gotten it already. With that, we'll move on, and I'll ask for approval of the minutes of our regular meeting of December the 14th.
Move for approval.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Commissioner Brooks?
getting there.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, members of court, if we can now go to the briefing item, and we're going to take up item number D, which is a presentation by the Arlington Board of Realtors. Taylor Oldroyd is here. He is the president and CEO of the Board of Realtors out of Arlington. This was an item that Commissioner Allen had requested that we place on the agenda.
Thank you for being here, Taylor. I appreciate you for coming to give us an update on the great work that's being done at Arbor. And then also, I don't know that you've had the pleasure of meeting my colleagues and others. I know for quite a long time that Larry was the president and CEO, so I just wanted to make sure that folks had an opportunity to meet you and hear about the great work y'all are doing.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Yeah, my name is Taylor Oldroyd. The last name's unusual, but just think Star Wars. I am the droid you're looking for, so Oldroyd. I'm a Mountain West guy that was a ski bum that figured out Texas is the place to be, as with a lot of the growth that's happened. But I was hired during the pandemic, so I haven't really had a chance to get out and meet as many people. But I have had a chance to interact with Commissioner Allen a number of times throughout the community, and appreciate her service and all your service. And I also wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. The Arlington Board of Realtors serves Tarrant, portions of Tarrant County, Ellis and Hill counties. We have about 3,400 plus members. And we're like a chamber of commerce, but just for realtors, right? So you can get licensed through the state, the Texas Real Estate Commission. But if you want to be a realtor, rather than just a licensee, you join a board of realtors. And so what do realtor associations do? We provide tools and services to realtors, primarily the multiple listing service. Everybody's familiar with the MLS. Yeah, we also provide education. We provide advocacy. We're very active locally and at the state and nationally. And then we provide a variety of member services. So one of the things that separates Board of Realtors is we have a code of ethics that we're proud of. And I want to read just the very beginning of it. There's a preamble And it starts like this. A lot of people aren't familiar with this. Put my glasses on. Under all is the land. Upon its wise utilization and widely allocated ownership depend the survival and growth of free institutions and of our civilization. Realtors should recognize that the interests of the nation and its citizens require the highest and best use of the land and the widest distribution of land ownership. They require the creation of adequate housing, the building of functioning cities, the development of productive industries and farms, and the preservation of a helpful environment. Such interests impose obligations beyond those of ordinary commerce. They impose grave social responsibility and a patriotic duty to which realtors should dedicate themselves and for which they should diligently prepare themselves. So we're proud about our civic involvement and, in fact, advocating for property rights and champion the availability and affordability and accessibility of housing is just something we're passionate about. In your packet that's been provided, there's a little highlight about our Community Service Foundation. We've been helping low-income homeowners keep their home by partnering with the cities. There might be a homeowner that's facing a code violation or some kind of challenge with upkeeps or siding or roofs, and so we've been working with cities since their 80s on helping homes. So we're proud about our Community Service Foundation. So before you also have some statistics, and I won't go through all of them, but just, the bottom line is everybody's aware that the market's pretty hot, right? It's been kind of a crazy market. And the reason why is economics. I mean, supply and demand, right? I mean, in your report, you show the population growth increased 16.7%. I'm one of those new residents. Although I always feel like a little bit of a Texan. I was a Bush appointee in the Department of Agriculture, Bush 42, and served in the Department of Agriculture, Conservation Service, and Forest Service, so always land-related items. And mobility, in the pandemic, people either realized they didn't like their home, or they wanted more home, or they needed less of a home, all the different variety of reasons. So mobility maintained, people moved around a lot, and that population growth. So as you can see, statewide price is up 17% to $315,450, and inventory is not even a month and a half of inventory. Here in the Fort Worth area, price went up 26.6% to $310,000. Listings are down 27% to less than 1 month.
Wow.
So if you think about it, if nobody else decided to sell their home in less than a month, there wouldn't be anything to sell. So sales are up 9%. Arlington, similar story. Price increased 17.5%. Listings are down. Sales are up. Mansfield, I think you have some stats there as well, similar. So looking in the crystal ball, people say, well, what's going to happen? I don't anticipate anything happening much different because inventories are still low. I did read in the news recently, though, that in October, new home starts were up 18%, so that's a good sign, and we look forward to local communities approving good, thoughtful land use planning and growth and development. Unless there's any questions, I'll conclude, and I know you've got a full agenda. I just appreciate your time. It's a pleasure to meet all of you, and you'll see me around. I won't be a stranger, and I look forward to partnering with you in ways to help address housing-related issues. So, thank you.
Are we seeing a lot more new development? I mean, you talked about new development or housing that's, excuse me, existing housing but it just seems like we're having major developments pop up all over Tarrant County. I know just right off the top of my head, I can think about 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think the only reason why it's not even more is just because land prices are going up, so it's a little harder to pencil out some of those projects, so, but yeah, it'll keep going. There's a lot of growth down south, Midlothian, Waxahachie, that's where a lot of the growth is happening, but
I know Parker County has a lot going on also from that standpoint.
I sit on a task force in Arlington. They're looking at residential infill redevelopment. So for a community that's surrounded and doesn't have too much open land left, they're looking at how do we make sure that we infill in the right way, and what are some planning and zoning codes and stuff that they could consider to help spur growth and development. So,
Are you seeing more zero lot line or looking at some of those types of things as a way to possibly increase that density?
yes, if you don't do that, you have to go up, and there's places for that, but the market, hopefully cities will recognize what the market's demanding, and there's definitely a place for zero lot lines. Zero lot lines means less lawn to mow, and of course your neighbors are right there. But yeah, a healthy community will embrace a broad variety of housing options.
Well, we will certainly look forward to working with the Arlington Board of Realtors and your colleagues across Tarrant County.
Yes.
And the cities in which y'all are located, as we look at how to address homelessness in Tarrant County and the need to build a lot more permanent supportive housing. We will need a push by boards of realtors across the county to help get that concept across the finish line and to acceptance by the communities, which will be chosen to host those housing developments.
Absolutely.
Taylor, the only question that I have for you is just if you could share with us, how can we, as a county organization and as we're working through programming our federal relief dollars, what's most helpful to realtors and to the associated businesses that all play a part in getting houses on the market and getting them sold and all that?
Well, I mentioned this, land prices going up. I think the best thing that local communities can do is have a land use planning process that's predictable and transparent, so that while you're not spending a lot of money figuring out how to get through the planning process, you can put it right into, I can't recall exactly the amount, and I'm happy to look it up, but the Home Builders Association have said that a single family home, like $20,000 or $30,000 of that home is just the regulatory hurdles that it costs to build the home. So when you talk about addressing homelessness and affordability, sometimes our own land use planning and codes is a hindrance to that, because supply and demand, the prices are going to go up, but we can maybe address it through not necessarily less regulations, but some streamlined and more thoughtful processes. A lot of county and city officials don't realize that they're in the land use planning business. We're especially in cities. You look at their agendas, and it's land use changes and zone changes, proposals, and so we look forward to partnering with them to help them understand that process and having a predictable, transparent process to go through applications.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
All right, thank you and good morning.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Members of the court, we can now go to another briefing item. This is the one with public health. It's the health update. Mr. Tenasia is here to address the court at this time. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the court.
Good morning, Vinny.
back again with our briefing on COVID and some other things. So first of all, we're at 378,000 cases and 4,986 deaths. We're somewhat stabilized on case counts coming in. Our hospitalizations are trending flat, but a lot of the indicators are mixed. So there's not a clear direction, but we're getting sense in the data there's sort of upward pressure building on some things, so we'll kind of see it happen over the next couple of weeks on how it resolves. The confirmed hospitalizations in Tarrant County are 228 as per the report yesterday. So that's 5.61% of the hospital capacity. Pediatric hospitalizations were 10 again, so it's kind of stayed the same week over week. And the trauma service area E has ticked up a little bit, 840 people in the hospital, 5.57%. In essence, on the hospitalizations, it's technically a flat trend. But yes, sir?
You said 228 cases or 5.61% of hospital capacity.
Yes, sir.
Approximately how many of those 238 patients are in intensive care units, and what percentage of intensive care capacity does that represent?
I will look that up on the NCCRAC report and let you all know. I didn't look at that last night. Okay. Usually I do, but it just escaped me. But I will. One other thing. So Omicron, the new variant, starting to surge across the country and, of course, across the globe, as you all probably heard in the news. But it's here in Texas, obviously. You know, we identified one case here in Tarrant County. Yesterday there was big news late evening that there's a death, the first in the country, attributed to Omicron in Harris County. So things are starting to happen. If you see what's happening across the country, New York's got a big outbreak happening with Omicron. Florida's got a surge starting to happen again. The predictions are that Omicron's everywhere. And I'll show you some data on why we think that is. So first of all, chart on the left, globally, I think 90+ countries now have identified Omicron as a variant of concern, and it's been there. Some that are darker shades are finding local transmission. And the lighter shaded countries are where they have travelers that have been identified, but a matter of time before it spreads everywhere. Charts on the right, these are from something called the CDC Nowcast. So the way it works is surveillance data is always sort of behind because labs do testing locally. They find, okay, there's COVID. Then surveillance samples got sent into CDC for variant typing. And they find, oh, this is Omicron, this is Delta, this is other variants. But they have a way to project on next few weeks. So they get us current in time. So real data is lagging 3 or 4 weeks, but the current projected data is showing that we're all across the country showing multifold increases in Omicron. Those purple bars, last week, as you can see, less number of Omicron expected. This week, almost 73% across the country is expected to be Omicron. And there's a chart that shows the regions, the Federal Health and Human Services regions. Texas is in Region 6. They're currently estimating that 92% of cases occurring in Region 6 are Omicron variant. So of course, these are estimates, but so far they've been pretty accurate on a lot of things. So we're pretty comfortable relying on this information that it is here, it's spreading everywhere in Texas. So quick update on the global situation. As you can see on the red bar graph on the left, the lines towards the end of that are really picking up. So we're in another global surge. And this is a mixture of a lot of things. Omicron's putting pressure. Some countries are dealing with Delta still, so it's kind of a mixed bag. But we're in a new global wave. Chart on the right is our U.S. Data. And as you can see on that little red line graph, we're definitely in an uptrend as a country. Again, dual pressure. Midwest is still dealing with the Delta surge. Hospitals are full in Michigan and some other places with Delta cases. But we're starting to see upward pressure in the Northeast and in other parts of the country with Omicron. Expectations are that due to the rapid spread rate, there are going to be increased pressures on hospitalizations and all those type of things. Early indications are the disease itself may be a little bit milder, but the volume of cases is going to be high. Essentially, people will end up in the hospital. So it remains to be seen how it exactly pans out, but there's a lot of concern in the public health circles about just a big wave of cases occurring. All right, so Tarrant County data, again, sort of stabilized. If you see the chart on the left, that's our epi curve. A couple of weeks poked above the 7-day moving average. So certainly we saw an increased activity. We were at a high level of community spread. Our R0 had gone above, and I think we had hit 1.26. That has eased back up a little bit. We're at 0.89. Other data coming in is kind of mixed, but if you recall, the high community spread level was driven by case rates jumping above 100 per 100,000. We're starting to see that come a little bit lower. Now, the team is thinking if nothing changes this week, we'll probably go back to substantial because the other indicators are lower. But that's a temporary blip.
As I recall, last week, we were well above 1 point something. We were at 1.2 something.
Yes, sir. 1.26 on the R0. Yes, sir. It came back down. And if you look at the chart on the...
0.89 all the way to 0.89?
Well, a lot of this is, my belief is the post-Thanksgiving bump, we got over that. And with the holidays, less testing's happening, labs are closed, or less staff are there. People are just enjoying the holiday time. And so there's less demand on testing. So we'll find out after Christmas what is really happening. But all of this data, as you can see, indicators are mixed. If you look at the positivity rate, it is creeping up. It's in an uptrend. We're almost at 7.9% or 8 point something, 8.3%. So it's been trending up. COVID-like illness is starting to trend up. Again, the red line on the right-hand side. So it's kind of early indicators are, yes, there's upward pressure building, but the case counts are stabilizing. We're at 94 per 100,000, just a hair below the threshold. So mixed bag of indicators. We follow the data. We're probably going to lower the spread level to substantial. But again, this is not a reason to let your guard down. This is a temporary thing. We believe all signs are that post-holiday, we're going to be back up into a high spread.
So, Vinny, a quick question. Did you say that you believe that the whatever surge we might have experienced over Thanksgiving is factored in on these numbers?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, quick update on the flu. As you can see on the chart on the left, the colors are starting to turn deeper on a lot of states, including Texas. So, we're certainly seeing flu activity. Even though there's a little bit of good news on the right, if you see the blue line, that's the line for Texas. They're below their baseline data. But Tarrant County, on the other hand, we're unfortunate. We're above our baseline, and we're trending up on flu numbers as well. Our rapid tests are starting to increase week over week. We're starting to see increases. So again, the reminder is the same. Get your flu shot, and if you're worried about COVID, certainly get your COVID shot and booster doses. Tools are here. It's not the lack of tools. We just need to get it done. So again, the message for our public who's listening is that it is time for caution. We're into the week of Christmas. As luck would have it, the weather is supposed to be super nice. So if y'all can move your Christmas gathering to an outdoor setting, this would be so nice. I would be happy. That would be a Christmas gift for me. If we can get it outdoors, that's great. Otherwise, of course, common sense measures are there. Wear a mask, avoid large gatherings, get vaccinated. Again, it's never too late to get vaccinated.
And one more thing I'd like to add to your list. Be aware of the vaccination status of the people who you invite into your home.
Absolutely. No harm in asking that question. People are pretty frank about what they have had experienced, and everybody knows why that question's being asked. So everybody wants to be safe. So it's okay to do that. And it's okay for you to go get tested beforehand. I mean, if you're going to invite people to your home, you don't want to spread any germs. So go get tested. And if you're visiting somebody, go get tested. So we do that when we go fly on a plane. Why not when you're visiting somebody's family out of state or somewhere else? Let's do that. Vaccine
I think
update.
that coupled with allergies have been terrible. I went, You know, I went and got tested yesterday purely from a standpoint that I'd had a scratchy throat. I thought it was allergies, but I wanted to be sure. And, you know, it came back negative, but again, that's just,
Absolutely the prudent thing to do. Perfect example. If you have a doubt, you know, you can't gauge what you've got. You have to get it tested. And if it's negative, common things are common, right? So, you know, common cold is common this time of the year. Allergies are kicking in. If you're negative on a test, we're better off. But, you know, like you said, find out what your status is and, you know, find out what the vaccination status are. Quick update on vaccines. Our improvements in numbers are definitely there. You know, it's a slow, steady gain of numbers. We're almost 58% fully vaccinated on 5+ year, you know, eligible population, and 1.21 million people in the county are fully vaccinated. 3+ million doses have been delivered. So in a short amount of time, I mean, this time last year we were talking about vaccine is coming. In 1 year, 3+ million doses have been delivered in Tarrant County. That's no small feat. So that's kudos to all our entire partnership of healthcare providers, pharmacies, public health, you know, city partners. They've done a lot of work. A lot of folks have taken the advantage of this opportunity, and of course, many remain. But, you know, it's not the lack of resources or lack of effort. It is the willingness to go get it done. Let's get it done. And then on the age groups, again, significant improvements. I didn't bring the raw numbers on the slide here, but we're seeing improvements definitely on the 5 to 11-year-old age group. As you can see, 6% of them are now fully vaccinated, and a lot more are, at least, you know, in between their doses. They've taken their first shot and they're heading towards getting their second shot. The other age groups are showing improvements as well. And then, of course, all the race ethnicity breakdowns are, you know, starting to improve in uptake on vaccine as well. So all good news developing on the vaccine front. What we remain concerned about is the booster doses. This number here, 246,000. And then if you look at the total, 1.21 million, 1.12 million, that's almost 900,000 people that yet need to come and get their booster dose. So use the holiday time frame. Get your booster doses done. Vaccines available in full supply. Public health has it, pharmacies have it, doctors' offices have it. There's not a shortage. Let's get it done. All indications are that if you're boosted, you have a better chance of fighting off any variant, including the Omicron. So let's do that. And other folks who are not yet vaccinated, certainly it's time to get vaccinated.
Well, and Vinny, what I've seen is, this is on social media, but a lot of people posting getting their booster and their flu shot at the same time.
Yes, you can. So early on when the vaccine came out for COVID, there was guidance to separate other vaccines by 2 weeks. And the reason was they wanted good, clean data, because once you send the vaccine out into the real world, they wanted to make sure that if somebody's getting a side effect, what is it from? But now multi-million doses, I mean, almost like 500 million doses after, there's no need. Several months ago, that requirement fell off. So you can take any vaccine. A lot of people take the flu and COVID combined on the same day, no problems. So again, 246,000 people with booster doses. More folks need to utilize that opportunity. And then a quick update on the testing operations. We're continuing to expand capacity. Now, 5 of the public health clinics offer a Monday through Friday testing location. We're typically open for testing on 8 to 4:30 because the lab needs time to receive all the samples and all that, so we start cutting off at 4:30. Clinics stay open till 5 or 6 depending on what work they're doing. And then our vendor sites, 3 of them are still open 1 day a week. We did see a little bit of uptick in activity at the Benton Plaza location. So as numbers and demand increases, we will look to expand the days and add days if needed. But as you can see, lately in November and December, demand was low. But if it picks up, we've got the resources here, and of course, public health sites are now able to do all the testing as well.
So, Vinny, are you hearing anything from the federal government? There was an article in the paper this morning about, I guess, mid-January, the federal government is going to distribute free 500 million testing units.
So, yes, sir. Again, I think there's an announcement coming from the president today. I think he's supposed to speak on Omicron, but some of the pre-release statements are exactly that the federal government has bought 500 million plus rapid tests. They're going to launch a website that if you need a rapid test at your house, they will mail one to you if you go onto that website and request one. A lot of the health industry is sort of, encouraging them to make it available so easily that if people need to get tested twice a week at their house, there should be enough tests available. So, that is going to be a major initiative. And then there's talk about some other things. And you probably saw some emails floating around yesterday. There's conversations happening that they're requiring insurance companies to cover the cost of rapid testing at home. But there's some caveats in there. If your physician thinks it's important and they put in an order, you can go pick it up at a pharmacy and then the cost would be covered. How it all exactly rolls out, we're going to wait for the program to roll out and see what the details are. But a lot's happening, lots changing over the next few weeks, and we'll wait for the formal announcement because this is sort of early release information. So that's what we have. And then I did reach out to our DSHS partners about booster information for nursing homes and long-term care facilities. Unfortunately, what I've heard is that there's been no demand. They've called and offered to a lot of nursing homes that they have the vaccine available. I know my team did a survey, and most of the nursing homes said, yeah, they have arrangements, but we are not seeing that information show up in the data that the people have gotten boosted. So I've asked my team to make a post-holiday survey call. Have your folks been boosted? Do you need any help getting booster doses done? And then between us and DSHS, we're going to continue to offer help. But again, there's no requirement. So it's all voluntary, and they need to make a request to get their staff and their residents booster doses done. So that's where we are with that. The concern is Omicron. A lot of these folks had Pfizer vaccine early on, and if they don't have a booster, we remain concerned that it may hit our long-term care facilities again.
Well, so similarly with the congregate settings, what about the federal correctional facilities? I remember, I forget, it's so many months ago, but that was a huge issue, and that had a significant impact on our hospital capacity.
Yes, I believe there was a conversation happening between our team and the federal partners on what the status is on the federal medical center. Yeah. I'll try to get an update for y'all.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks, Vinny.
Members of the court, we can now go to the administrator's section. Ms. Camareno is going to do items 1 and 2.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners.
Good morning, Kristen.
You each have a printed copy of the weekly programs report in your red folder. Before I ask the court to receive and file that, I would like to bring your attention to 2 things. The first is that for the IEM surveys for the COVID-19 needs and assessments that we sent out last week, we have extended the deadline for those surveys to January 14th. The second item, you've probably heard that the City of Arlington has discontinued receiving applications or accepting applications for their rental assistance program. They have obligated all of their funds, they believe. In conversations with the City of Fort Worth and Arlington, they both indicated that they will be running out of funds in the next few weeks. And so the Tarrant County, our staff, is looking into voluntarily reallocating some of our ERA funds to both of those entities. So we'll be working with the Auditor's Office and Treasury to move forward with that process and bringing that back to you, hopefully early January.
I applaud those kinds of collaborative efforts.
Yeah. Well, and I would, if you could just let me know as soon as I can report out to Precinct 2 that change and that there's still resources available through the county. Just Sunday, I was at a community meeting and was talking about Arlington having a program, not knowing that Arlington doesn't have a program anymore because they have obligated their funds. But so I want to make sure that we're getting all that out.
Sure, understood. So if there are no other questions, I'll ask the court to receive and file the weekly programs report.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, so item 2, this is discussion and possible action regarding the Tarrant County ARPA FRF program budget. There are 2 items, A and B. We'll start with A. This is a request to approve changes to the budget as reflected on the large spreadsheet you have in your packet. You'll see there's one item in light blue. That's the item we'll be discussing. That's for $71,200. This is a result of a more fine-tuned estimate to the cost of onboarding staff as part of that line item. After looking at the selection of insurance plans, it necessitated some more fine-tuning to that number. And so we're asking the court to budget an additional $71,200 to that reduced court backlog item.
Is that it?
For item A, yes, sir.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item B, we're asking the court to receive and file a list of agenda items that appear on today's Commissioners Court agenda. Each of these items will appear as an action item for discussion and review before approval today. This is simply a request to receive and file. I am happy to answer any questions that I can. Otherwise, the presenters will be able to do that.
Move to receive and file.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Members of the court, we can now go to item number 3 under the administrator section. We're asking that the court accept a check in the amount of $11,880.76. This is from the Texas Urban Counties Local Government Corporation as a county share for the distributed retained earnings. These are funds that we received. I believe they are distributing $60,000 this year. Our percentage of that is approximately 19.8%.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is the building we own in where the Conference of Urban Counties offices. Any further discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Tidwell?
We have 2 items for the court to consider this morning. The first, we're asking for the approval of release and the substitution of collateral as outlined in your court communique.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And the other item is we're asking the court to approve the Federal Home Loan Bank of Cincinnati irrevocable letter of credit as collateral in an amount not to exceed $200 million and extend the term. We renew these on an annual basis, so this is simply a renewal of our existing letter of credit with Chase.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Criminal District Attorney's Office. That'd be you?
As you're aware, the law in the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure restricts the use of seized forfeiture funds after a period of time when the current attorney representing the state is no longer going to be in office. So the statute specifically speaks to when the filing deadline has passed. The filing deadline has passed. I have not filed to seek re-election, and so I'm restricted from using those funds without the permission of the Commissioner's Court. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with, we've been very careful to save that money for specific tasks, and I'll bring those all to you that are authorized under the statute. So One of the things that we have over the years with you used those funds for is education and training, and also computer equipment for the digital forensic unit. But right now, we're just dealing with the education and training. So the question is, will you all allow us, we did that as opposed to putting it as a line item in our budget. We pay for it out of the asset forfeiture funds. So our request is to continue to do that through the remainder of this year, using just the money that we use in that training fund.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I want to just kind of piggyback on this because, you know, Commissioner Allen, myself, Commissioner Johnson are also in that same situation as it pertains to our travel and some of those types of expenses. I know I saw something Commissioner Allen had done this week. The thing that I want to ask the court about from my perspective is I go on trips where I am reimbursed by TAC, by NACO, by Financial Services, by West Texas, by the Commissioners and Judges Association, and by TAC. I may have mentioned TAC 2 or 3 times. And then sometimes in there, Tarrant County reimburses.
Sure.
Do y'all want, what I can do is I can just say, I'll do traveling as it pertains to all of those other organizations. Occasionally there may be an expense, but not, you know, where I might be one day on Tarrant County and the rest of it's paid for by that. How, do you want me just to kind of provide a list of the events that I think as they're coming up? Or how do we wanna do this?
I think we ought to do it event by event, but approval shall not be unreasonably withheld.
Okay. And the reason I said, because we could be doing one, that'll probably be about every week. So I'll just go ahead and make the list and say, I expect that reimbursement will come from this, but there may be some split from that standpoint.
I would think that would be appropriate.
And the only thing I ask, since I'm on the back end, to write the checks, is that whatever you do, it needs to be clear, because again, I don't have an opinion. I simply want to follow the court's policy and the state law. So if you want to authorize travel for any of the 3 in any sort of manner with the DA's concurrence, so that I have that on file, if you want to look at it on an event by event, just make sure I have it in time, otherwise I'm not going to be writing a check until I have that from you. So if you call up and need a check, you may not receive it until I have court approval.
I think this is a matter of policy, not a matter of law. So we routinely submit requests for out-of-state travel, and I would suggest that that would continue to be done with appropriate notation about what part of it is going to be county
That sounds
for all of us.
Yeah.
And
Are
then,
you suggesting, sir, let me make sure I'm clear, that in the case of what Judge Whitley explained, that he's taking a trip, not out of state, but that he would have an item on the agenda that would be approved in order for the county to reimburse him for the county's portion of that trip?
We did that today on
Right.
Commissioner Allen under.
Right.
Yes.
under
And
us.
so you're saying you want to do that each time? I just want to make
Yes.
sure I'm hearing you. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
and when we say it says out of state as well as
says
out
out
of
of state.
region.
Out of region.
Out of region.
and
Is
out of
region deemed to be just out of the Metroplex area?
It's out
Yeah.
of north central
Okay.
Texas.
And there are times when I will attempt to get whatever the group is to reimburse me for everything, and sometimes they'll come back after the fact saying, no, we think this is not ours, and so then those are the kind that I'm gonna end up bringing back to the county.
We won't leave you hanging, Judge.
Okay.
So, Your Honor, just a clarification, when they say region is defined in our travel policy as the North Central Texas Council of Governments region.
No, so it's out anywhere out of the Metroplex, okay. Now
So
back to
mine
your
is-
motion.
Mine
we
is a
voted?
matter of law.
No.
We haven't voted.
Mine is a matter of law, and we'll be back with any additional expenditures.
Okay, thank you. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank y'all. Mr. Garcia?
Good morning,
Good morning.
Your Honor, members of the court. We're here today to ask the court to approve the changes to voting precinct boundaries following redistricting. As you might be aware, we have to complete this task by the end of the year. And the reason we're doing this is because when district lines change, sorry, certain rules require us to adjust voting precincts so that voting precincts are not split by congressional lines, state representatives, state senate, or JP lines. So the change we are presenting to court today and requesting to have approved is a minimum necessary to comply with that section of the law. And so we will now have 822 voting precincts in Tarrant County.
How many had we had?
729 currently, and if you approve this, we'll have 822.
Okay.
So Hyder, will you go ahead and just lay out the process that was followed to notify the appropriate individuals and bodies of these changes?
Yes, ma'am. Again, apologize. We sent out basically a letter to each one of them, precinct chairs, appointed election precinct judges, and party chairs, with copies of the map of each one of those precincts saying your precinct is changing this way. That was sent almost a week and a half before today. Yes, sir.
Different subject. Are you going to visit my friends this evening in Colleyville? Or is that
Today?
today?
Yes,
Tonight?
this afternoon,
Okay.
sir. Yeah.
You need any reinforcements?
They've been very kind, and they just want to talk about the general flow of elections. So I'll be glad to work with them today.
Some of their questions seem to be maybe out of your realm of maybe.
Yeah, we'll see what they ask, and I think this is good, right? Educating people out there and saying,
Yeah.
hey, this is how things actually work, and not how Twitter says they work.
So do we have a motion?
No, we do not. We don't have a motion or a second.
Huh?
We don't have a motion or a second.
Okay.
Would you like to make
I
a motion?
move and approve the changes to the voting precinct boundaries.
I'll second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-2.
Thank you. Just as a note, I know that we, now that they've been approved, we will start working on updating our maps on the website, because I know there are questions about the maps, but now that
You'll
they're...
be also sending out new voter registration cards?
Correct. That data is actually ready, waiting for this approval to be sent.
Okay,
So,
when will those cards go out, do you think?
first week of January 2nd.
Okay. And then those new precincts, as far as adding precinct chairs and different things along that lines, that'll just be left up to the parties to...
That's correct. We now start the process of going over these lists with them, and wherever there are new vacancies, then we'll have to come back to court and have that appointed. A lot of them are 0 precincts. We have now precincts that are the size of a parking space because of the way lines are drawn, but so there's not that much to cover now.
Okay.
Hyder, before you step away, I had emailed you a few times about a business in Precinct 2 that wanted to be
I
evaluated.
apologize, ma'am. I can barely hear you.
I emailed you multiple times about a business in Precinct 2 that wanted to be evaluated as an early vote location. Will you update me on that?
Yes, my staff should have been reaching out to the individual.
Okay.
To see if it works for us. Because the idea is, again, to be consistent, and we really want to make sure that if they're offering that location, it's not a, I think it's a good idea now, but maybe in May we won't have it, and then November.
Sure.
But, so, and what we have in the area, and then
Okay,
we'll
very
get back to
good.
them.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Marvin?
Morning. All right, so this is a approval of professional services contract with Hanfeld, Hoffer, and Stanford Architects for architectural and engineering services related to the mental health jail diversion center renovation project at 812 West Morphy Street in Fort Worth, Texas. This is for the garage that's being built over there.
Approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and second to receive and file the personnel agenda. We have a public audience participation on that. Lisa, come on down. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name's Lisa Willis. I reside in Benbrook, Texas, and I'm here to speak to the court about the Human Resources Personnel Agenda regarding employee merit increases for 2022. First of all, I want to say I'm very thankful to have a job, and I'm thankful to work for Tarrant County. I'm especially appreciative during these tough times that people are having financially during the pandemic and dealing with the almost 7% inflation rate on goods and services. I understand that a large amount of the population is having a hard time, but my purpose today is to talk specifically about merit increases for employees of Tarrant County. The reason I'm speaking is because the employee merit increases on the personnel agenda for maxed out employees have left out employees that are grade 16 and below. Most of these people have worked for Tarrant County for 20 years, 25 years, and longer. These are dedicated, reliable employees who have longevity with the county. These are employees that have good performance reviews in order to have maxed out. I've worked for Tarrant County for 25 years, and in that time, I, as well as others, have always gotten an increase in pay rate every year, with the exception, I think, of just one year the court voted not to give raises across the board. The lack of merit increases for these lower maxed out pay grades is very disheartening. Each year, the higher end rate and max pay rates increase slightly, allowing for a small increase in pay. There is no budgetary reason for these low pay grades to have been excluded from annual pay raises. All pay grades on the various pay grade scales at grade 17 and above up to all the professional grades received increases. It's hard to understand why the compensation study by Korn Ferry determined that the lowest pay grades of maxed out employees were not deserving of increases. When the average citizen has business to conduct with Tarrant County, we are the people in those pay grades that they are most likely to interact with. We are the face of Tarrant County to those people. I think we do a good job representing the county. We have a wealth of knowledge that we bring to our jobs and use it daily to assist the citizens of Tarrant County. Of the 2,000 plus employees on the personnel agenda, there are about 40 to 45 employees, which is about 2%, that didn't receive an increase. And like I mentioned, we have maxed out due to our longevity with the county and good performance reviews, which says something about us. Since increases are merit-based, we have had good performance reviews, and based on merit, we should not have been excluded. I don't know if we are considered unskilled labor, and maybe that's why we are not included in raises. And yes, we receive the max lump sum payment because we are maxed out. But anyone in the grades above 16 all the way to the highest levels also received a lump sum and a raise. If raises are given to maxed out employees, it should be equitable. There's no reason to believe the lowest pay grades don't deserve raises too. I appreciate the lump sum, but this small group of employees, the working class people, not getting increases like most all maxed out employees will receive sends a message to us, and it says that we're not valued.
Lisa, thank you for your comments. I want to be sure that I understand what you're saying, because I thought initially you were saying that 15s and 16s did not get a lump sum.
No, what I'm saying is the maxed out grades 16 and below did get a lump sum.
Okay.
However, in any other grades above that, from 17 on up to the professional grades, received a lump sum, but they also received a raise. And
Well, that was the second question, because so here's what I understand, and Robin, I want you to correct me when I say something that's not. There were certain positions or grades that were recommended by, what do they call them now? Korn Ferry. That said, we need to adjust the structure in that particular grade, and we may have raised it a little bit. And in that situation, they would have, let's say, for example, that someone had been maxed out, and Korn Ferry said, well, we need to increase that ceiling by 1%, then they would have gotten a 1% raise and a 2% lump sum. But they would have not got, if that structure wasn't done or wasn't raised, all they would have gotten was the lump sum, and they would have gotten no raise.
I understand what you're saying, but historically, we that are maxed out have always gotten a lump sum and a raise. This is the first time in the 25 years I've been here that has not happened with basically all employees receiving a raise.
Robin, can you speak to what?
So, as was stated, let me just kind of walk through the process. Each year we do have an annual review done by our consultants, Korn Ferry, and they make recommendations on our pay structures based on market information as to whether those structures should be adjusted. In some cases, we did have some structures that were not adjusted, and that did include grade 16. It also included grade 70, 71, 72, and 73. So we did have several pay grades that did not receive an adjustment. So what happens to the employees in those structures is, if they are already at max and that structure didn't move, if they get a score of 2.95 or better, then they are eligible for a 3% lump sum. Let's say the structure had moved by 2%, then they would get, and they got the same appropriate appraisal, they would get a 2% to their base pay and a 1% to lump sum. We never let a lump sum exceed 3%. And I'm happy to try to answer other questions or give more information.
Will you repeat the part where, so if they're already at max, if you'll start there and repeat it.
Okay, yes. So if an individual is at max when we begin our merit process, and they receive a score of 2.95 or higher, meaning they're performing at standard, then they will be eligible for a 3% lump sum. Okay? If an individual, let's just say the structure moved by 2%, then they could get 2% added to base and another 1% as a lump sum.
As I'm understanding what Lisa is saying, though, I thought I understood her to say that in the past, she had received the lump sum and a raise. But under what I heard you say and what I thought should have been the situation would have been, if you were maxed out already and that structure was not moved, then you should have only received a lump sum but no raise in those situations. And Robin, is that your understanding of the way it would have worked?
Right. So in the past, if that structure had, again, like I said in my example, moved by 2%, yes, she would have received a 2% to her base pay and then another 1% lump sum. So yes, she would have seen a change in her base pay and then some lump sum. But in this case...
So what I'm going to ask that you do is get with Lisa.
Okay.
And see if you can explain if you see what she's saying, and let's just be sure that there's not been an error made.
Absolutely. Yes, I can go back and look historically at what we've done each year with those salary structures and then look at her salary history and respond to her question.
Maybe we look a little bit at some of those lower, again, we trust Korn Ferry to say and to evaluate those, but they are at the lower end of our scale, and I want to make sure that the county is paying a livable wage to all.
Okay. We'll absolutely look at that.
Okay. Any other, Lisa, again, thank you very much
Thank you.
And I'll give
for
you-
coming forward and making your comments. Any other discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
And to
So-
you, Robin.
I have 5 more items to present. Our next item is an approval of a waiver of terminal benefits for Precinct 4. Their traffic control technician is leaving on December 30th with 153 hours. This will cost $2,709.94.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Our second item is also an approval of a waiver of terminal benefits for the Criminal District Attorney's Office. They have a managing attorney that is leaving has left on November 30th with 270 hours. However, they're going to only do the waiver for 150 hours. That cost is $11,705.91.
Move approval.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Our next one is a double fill and a waiver, and this is for the 348th District Court. Their court reporter is leaving in January with 400 hours, and this will cost $34,172.71. They're actually doing the double fill from the 3rd to the 11th.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Why are we double filling a court reporter?
That was their request.
Come on down, because, I mean, the court reporter is a court reporter and you can only record it once.
It's, to put it in perspective, it is just for 7 days. I have much more time that I've opted to just take the pay instead of burning it. But we have a incredibly huge, busy docket right now, and to have a little bit of time to spend with the incoming court reporter, to get her familiar with how we do jury charges and I'm talking about just a few days, and then I hope to be able to burn some vacation time that I'm over my 400 hours. But I want to be in a position where I can help her on board in a very busy time. We've already started back to jury trials, and it's just an incredibly busy time, and it will just help the transition for our judge and our court for us to double fill.
Okay. Any other discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Our next one is to double fill and a waiver. This is for Justice of the Peace Precinct 4. The double fill is for 1 week. Their Justice Court Manager is leaving, and this will cost $5,291.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Our final item is approval of a change of table of organization to CSCD. So CSCD has actually made a request through ARPA funding for 18 new new supervisor officer positions and 2 supervision clerks to be effective December 22nd. The decision was made that those will be granted in 5 position increments because it's possible they won't, fill them immediately. And should they be able to fill them all, the cost would be about $1.35 million.
Is this to help us in our,
This is to assist in the backlog of caseloads due to the court closures and the workload efficiency, trying to get things moving along. I'm sorry.
If you think about the fact that we're moving more and more people out of the jail and into either a PR bond or something like that. It's CSCD who supervises the PR bonds. And it decreases the population within the jail. Of course, the PR bond has to be justified, but it has caused a real workload on CSCD to manage those additional people. And the purpose is obviously twofold: to lower the jail population because of PR bond type activities, and also it helps as far as distancing and jail population for COVID.
And that's what I was kind of asking, because remember, CSCD normally is monitoring people who are out on probation. We ask them to help us with monitoring people who have not yet been convicted.
Right.
And so,
in as much as I fully support letting people who qualify out of jail on PR bonds, I will move approval of this.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Vinnie?
Before I present our item, Commissioner Brooks, I did look up the report. It was 65 people in the hospital ICUs in Tarrant County. That's about 19%. So that number's kind of, the percentage has stayed steady, about 20% range. So we're there if the total as well.
Let's keep an eye on that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have one item for your consideration almost afternoon, all this morning still. We're requesting approval of an amendment number 1 to our professional services agreement between Tarrant County and Commonwealth Informatics. This was an ongoing project. It was funded with CARES funds, and as that book was being closed, we're now requesting that we move this funding to the FRF funds.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Vinnie, it's still just 11:25.
Yes, sir.
Don't jinx us.
Purchasing, Melissa, come on down.
Morning. Good morning.
Morning, Melissa.
We have 8 items for your consideration this morning. The first item, I just want to say, after many months of demonstrations and checking references, we feel confident that this is the best value solution for the vendor registration and electronic receipt of bids. This software will not impact how we currently do business in SAP, the financial side. This product enhances our vendor outreach and the integrity of the bid process. Currently, hundreds of government entities that have ERP systems use a separate solicitation system, such as IronWave, which we're recommending. This will expand the amount of potential public sector vendors that we could reach to receive our bid notices, and these benefits would provide our vendor community better service and 1/3 of the cost of the Ariba solution. So with that, our first item for award recommendation is regarding RFP number 2021-068, electronic procurement system for purchasing, awarding to IronWave Technologies in the amount of $212,000. If approved, we're also requesting contract approval.
Move for approval.
Motion dies for lack of a second. Again, I don't feel like I think we ought to be going toward SAP. And Mr. Petruzza was not involved. I had suggested to you when we went through the reprocess that we include him in a lot of those discussions. And I for one want to send a message that if SAP's out there and they've got a module, as much money as we have invested in SAP, we need to be going with SAP.
I would like to also make a comment about that. Mr. Petruzza was involved with all the discussions that we had with the vendors that we looked at, as well as all departments were welcome to view those, as well as sit in on those recordings. He was there to review the software. We spent on multiple occasions, we brought in SAP to discuss that software. We went back through both proposals that were submitted by Sierra, as well as one of the current vendors, LSI. It looked at their references, contacted their references, and those vendors do not currently use Ariba for vendor registration. And many of them told us is because, well, I'm going to read a couple of the comments. One of the comments that I received from San Diego County, the reason why they didn't implement it for solicitations is because it's an invite-only system. And that's against the law to have an invite only. It's also part of 262 that we are supposed to allow equal opportunity for bids. So currently, the way we post our bids now is open to anyone in the public. And so we don't have an invite system. We score.
Travis County is using this within Texas, or they're in the process of implementing it in Texas. So how are they doing it if it's an invite only and that violates the law?
Harris County is currently using.
Say Harris, I said Travis.
I mean, Travis County is currently using BidSync. They did purchase Ariba, but they have not implemented Ariba. And they haven't even gotten that far in the development.
But they bought it.
They did make the purchase, but so did Santa Clara County. Okay. They made the purchase as well, and they had to back out a few of the modules because.
You said San Diego a few minutes ago. Was it San Diego or Santa Clara?
Both.
Okay.
I was just reading a comment from San Diego. But Santa Clara spent $13 million on that software.
Which is about as much as we spent on SAP. And
yes.
That's why we're saying to everybody that you need to be looking at SAP.
And we did look at SAP. We looked at it very thoroughly. And the comments that I received from all the references that SAP gave us, which was the city of Tacoma, Santa Clara County, San Diego County, Travis County, who has not implemented it yet, all told us that it was complicated. And so they did not roll out the bid registration portion of it. Some of them still use their current vendor registration system and bid solicitation system, which is a solution similar to IronWave. They're either using BidSync or some of the other vendors that submitted proposals to us.
Well, when I talked with Mr. Petruzza yesterday, he indicated he had not been communicated with in anywhere near the recent future. And again, this all of a sudden just appeared on the agenda. I think you knew that the auditor's office, the administrator's office, and my office, I would have hoped that you would have come and we would have had some conversation before it just showed up on the agenda, because you had a pretty good idea of where I think not only myself, but some of the other court members are saying we're fairly committed. We are committed to SAP, not fairly. And that, we know that there's gonna be an upgrade coming in SAP in the next couple of years. And I'm very concerned about anything that, in any way, shape, or form, if SAP has it, I think we ought to be looking very seriously at finding whatever way possible we can to implement SAP. It's just where I'm at.
I just want to make sure in your reference to we in the court that I'm excluded from that reference. Obviously, I made a motion to support it. And as I have said so many times, I don't have the luxury or the limitation of history, being one of the newest members of the court. And I understand that there was a tremendous amount of investment that went into SAP. And I know that there's been a lot of hours and work into making this work, but it doesn't seem like it's working. So I'm not sure why we are so committed to something that's not working. I don't know. I don't have anything more to say beyond that, so.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sure.
I just want to say our organization uses purchasing quite a bit, and we have a great relationship with Melissa, and it has been a 180 since she's taken over. So I fully support her decision-making. I understand because you and I have been on the path of SAP for a very long time, when it seemed the only people that had SAP was the auditor's office, and they're always backed up, and we couldn't make things happen. So I am a huge supporter of SAP. But this is complicated. My chief sat in the presentations. He's gone through them. He saw everything. I personally speak to the other members of the court. I know where you stand, Judge Whitley, but if she's made the decision and she came to this, we have to use purchasing at a very high level with the other big departments. It's easy for y'all to make that decision, but for us, the people that have to use the technology that y'all vote on matters. So I fully support her with her decision. I understand I'm a proponent of SAP every step of the way, but if it's been this complicated, and other customers have said that, you're making it hard on the bigger departments when in a year or two you may not be here.
I hear what you're saying, but we're only, when I've talked with the counties, they have not indicated to me that it was that complicated or that they had a problem with it. Again, we asked to be a part of it, and it's back on the agenda, and there was no conversations with the auditor, with the administrator, or with my office on that regard. I agree 100% that Melissa and the purchasing department has done a great job, and they're bending over, but this is just one place where we agree to disagree.
Okay.
So I'm not, judging the whole department based upon one thing.
But you're making a decision that's going to affect the entire 4,000 employees and department and elected officials who have to use the system and work with Melissa.
We all use the system, and we all use it in
Not to the
different
extent we
ways.
do in the bigger departments. I disagree.
Thank you, Mary Louise. I would suggest that we go back and see if we can't find some other alternative and talk about it and see where we go from here.
Okay, Judge, we
Moving on to
met,
item two.
we did meet on several occasions, and we have talked about it on several occasions. And I gave you my opinion, and I gave Renee my opinion.
I appreciate that, Melissa, but we don't have a second. Move on to item 2, please.
And I would like to ask if people are aware of things that aren't working, since we're the majority user of SAP, it's our lifeline, whether on the front end or back end of another department. But if commissioners or anyone else has specific areas of things that aren't working, I would also like to ask in a public forum that IT become more proactive, not David Petrucia, but IT management, in addressing and assessing how we can utilize the resources we have and how we can meet the needs of our customers, and not just individual customers on their own, but holistically. Because whether we keep SAP or not doesn't matter to me in the long term, because I'm not going to be here either, but my department and our lifeblood, we rely probably on Melissa more than anyone. I mean, auditing can't do anything that doesn't go, most of what we buy goes through purchasing. We have to pay, we have to work with the buyers, we have to work with all the departments. We're not opposed to being open-minded to just about anything, but I think to come here and say that something doesn't work, or it's complicated, we just would like to have more collaborative communication and try to fix those things that don't work. And again, again, IT management has to be a part of that, not just David P. And so if something doesn't work, I think we need to be able to have those conversations. And again, I would have liked to have known before you brought this in here, before you put it on the agenda, that this was your decision, and we couldn't have dialogue. We might have chosen to disagree, but you did not communicate with me.
The same thing I would have presented today is the same thing that we talked about in several meetings, Renee. This impacts the vendor registration system. This is not necessarily a direct impact to the purchasing office. I'm the one that has to deal with vendors on a daily basis. And if they can't get in here and this system is not secure, then I can't support it. And that's what I heard from other agencies, that SAP Sierra even put it in their proposal.
And I don't have any knowledge of any of that. We just didn't have that dialogue before today. That's all I've said.
The second item is an award recommendation regarding RFP number 2021-091 for analytical instrumentation for information technology in the medical examiner's office, awarding to Thermo Electron North America in the amount of $36,849.41. If approved, we're also requesting contract approval.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks? Motion passes unanimously.
Third item is regarding RFP number 2021-155. This is our annual contract for informatic consultant services for public health, awarding to J. Michael Consulting per contract terms.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
The fourth item is an award recommendation regarding RFP number 2021-156 to conduct an organizational and operational review of Tarrant County Public Health and develop a 3 to 5 year strategic plan for public health, awarding to Ascendant Healthcare Advisors per contract terms. If approved, we're also requesting contract approval.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. You know, the one thing I would say about this particular item, I would have liked for the court to have had an opportunity to maybe be a little bit more involved in the presentations of what these companies were going to do and what they plan to do. This is, I think, a very important part of the, laying out the strategic plan for public health. I would like, I have no problem going ahead and approving this today, but I would like for that company to be here and for us to have regular meetings. And I'd like to have a meeting with them before they begin their process to talk about exactly that's going to be involved with that. And then, again, to give everybody on the court an opportunity to hear that, as well as the public, and to be very transparent about that. So I don't have a problem, but before they get started, I'd like for them to come and brief the court and us have an opportunity to brief and make our thoughts known to them.
The only thing that I would add is, I think some earlier process when the RFP was going out, that there was language in there about an equity component. I just wanted to make sure that carried through. I forget who from the county administrator's office that I would have received that from. Maybe it was Russell. I don't see him here, but.
Let us check and get that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
The fifth item is an award recommendation regarding RFP number 2022-001, voluntary employee benefit plan and short-term disability insurance for human resources and the budget and risk management office for public health, awarding to for human resources and budget and risk management, awarding to American Fidelity Insurance Company per contract terms. If approved, we're also requesting contract approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. So is this Is this just kind of like where individual employees can buy individual disability and or short-term or different things like that?
Nobody's gonna heard me from the back because I'm loud, but, yes, sir. So this will be employee paid benefit. And this is, as you said, for short-term disability, which we have not had before.
And then I guess this will come out of paychecks
Yes,
as opposed to being paid for?
yes, it will be a payroll deduction.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
The sixth item is an approval of an invoice payment for fiber infrastructure services for facilities management to Contra Networks in the amount of $5,553.79. This service was requested without prior approval from purchasing.
Move approval.
Second.
Is there any more on what happened?
This service was done at the new juvenile center. I don't have any additional information.
Good morning. So, right, it's the Juvenile Detention Center project. It was an emergency situation that the project manager, he put in the requisition in SAP. He thought it was approved. The contractor did the job. But in reality, the requisition was flagged because of, I think it was a bid a question about whether it was to be bid out or not.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
The vendor is a city of Fort Worth ISD vendor, not a Tarrant County vendor.
Right. And so the work was done, and so just cart before the horse kind of thing. Talk to the employee about the process and the breakdown, and then what we can do, in the future to make sure that isn't, notice to proceed isn't given ahead of the purchase order.
You understand how to do this properly going forward?
Yes, we understand how to do it
All right.
properly. Been canceled, so.
Thank you, Marvin.
Yeah, talk with your people because you've been here before and you've been, I think, and you hadn't been here long with the county.
Yeah, so, there's processes. I mean, we've spoken about consolidation of administrative functions. We've spoken about there's software systems like Procore and Forma that we can use. It's not SAP, but it's software systems that will flag and alert you on these things. They are SAP capable, but these are just software systems that other agencies and other entities use that is a little bit easier than the current process that we have. But again, either way,
If
we
SAP
have.
has one, I would advise you well to use it. And if this is what's,
This is not a software issue. This is a
Okay.
process issue, and we're going to handle it.
okay.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
The seventh item is an approval of an invoice payment for hazardous waste disposal for the medical examiner's office to Green Planet in the amount of $100. This is the second invoice. We brought one to you last week for this exact same service. It was also done without prior approval.
Is there anyone here from the medical examiner's office to speak to it?
Please,
This should be the last one.
please sit down with the medical examiner's office, the new medical examiner, and explain to him what the Tarrant County procedures are.
Sure will.
Move for approval.
Second.
I agree with what Roy's saying, but I'm assuming that this was done under the old before the new one got here.
Probably will.
We'll be talking with their administrative manager also on
Okay.
this.
Yeah, it could have been purchased prior
Before
to him.
December 6th, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Please.
point made.
Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And the eighth and last item is an approval of an invoice payment for annual licenses and support agreement for the check disbursement maintenance for the sheriff's office to Wycom Systems in the amount of $868.50. This contract went into effect October 1st, and the requisition was entered in mid-November, so it was really considered late.
Again, we owe the money, so we can't refuse to pay it, but the processes need to be followed correctly.
And is there anyone here from the sheriff's office that can speak to this?
But now this one is just late in being done. It's not that they spent it without it being the right thing to spend. It's just that they didn't
Right.
pay for it on time.
They have new clerks in the accounting department of the sheriff's office. They tried to enter the requisition in September, but you cannot enter a requisition for a 2020 fiscal year purchase, 2022 fiscal year purchase in 2021. So the requisition was not approved to move forward. And she was asked by the approver, I believe it was an auditor approver, to enter it in next fiscal year. And the clerk just forgot. She just forgot to.
It was not a purchase order.
It wasn't that they didn't have a purchase order to purchase. Yeah, okay, I see what
Right.
you're saying.
Hi, Chief, how are you?
Good.
Good.
And, I think Melissa's exactly right. It was just a mistake on our part. It wasn't followed up clearly in the accounting office. It's been addressed, and we will, do our best to adhere to the proper procedures.
Very good. Thank you.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sheriff's Department? He's back.
I'm back. Good morning, and, thank you. The Sheriff's Department just has one item on there. It's the approval of Addendum A to the offender, defendant paid, and department paid electronic monitoring services operations agreement for community supervision and corrections department. Basically, what this is just an opportunity for the judges to send us electronic monitoring, a home arrest for certain defendants, and that will be dovetailed on to the CSCD agreement.
That's what we talked about earlier in the.
Yeah, what this is, actually, no, this is a little bit different because we've been working with the misdemeanor judges, and there are some people who are in jail who've been convicted of a misdemeanor, and they would like to put them out on a house arrest to serve their term, but they need the monitoring, the ankle bracelet monitoring. That's what this is. The Sheriff's Department is going to do the monitoring, but we're buying that service, the bracelets and things like that, from a contract we currently have with CSCD. So what we're asking for is funding to expand that CSCD contract so that the Sheriff's Department has the resources it needs to do this program.
Move approval.
That's the same thing that's on the spreadsheet, right? Is that what we're talking about?
It is,
The ARPA thing?
yes, it is
Okay.
one of the items on the spreadsheet.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Johnson, I believe you have an agreement today?
Yes, with the city of River Oaks, item 8, A, and B, I move approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Are there any appointments today? Okay, then you have before you the claims including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims including the addendum. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. We have one briefing item remaining, I believe, on Lincoln Financial.
Yes, Your Honor, we have item number B. We're going to go to that now. HR is here to make the initial presentation.
Good morning.
Lawrence Smith is here from Lincoln Financial, and he is going to present to you a change to our platform from a multi-fund platform to Alliance, and he'll be able to answer any questions that you have. Lawrence, come on up.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. And enter this real quick here. I believe there should be, oh, it's already up. All right, so my name is Lawrence Smith, and I am a registered representative of Lincoln Financial Group. And I do have the honor to speak with you today about a planned transition from for 457 from the multi-fund platform that Lincoln currently uses here at Tanner County for participants to the Alliance platform, which is a mutual fund product that is able to be used. I am a certified financial planner. I've been with Lincoln for quite some time. And Crystal Roseman, who has also worked with Tarrant County participants for several years, that is the servicing team for Lincoln here at Tarrant County. And so one of the questions would come up, well, what is the need for the change of plan? Well, the multi-fund platform is an older platform that Lincoln has used for several years that's no longer offered to plan participants, to plans to actually operate. And the reason why is it's a more expensive platform for participants, and more importantly, it could be quite a burdensome platform to be used. So over a decade ago, Lincoln began to transition away from the multi-fund platform to our Alliance platform for employees and for employer-sponsored plans. And so the other thing that happened with that is Lincoln also has begun pulling its resources from the multi-fund platform, which is an important thing right now with several of the changes that are happening when it comes to Reg BI. Also, there was a recent announcement today of the DOL adding a new, some additional standards. And so each time these new changes are made, it leads to around 125 pages of paperwork that a participant has to go through just to be able to enroll into the 457 plan. Whereas the Alliance platform that is offers a much better experience, and it turns enrolling into a plan from this 125-page document to some buttons that you need to be able to press online. And it's just made a wonderful, better experience for the participants within the 457 plan. So some of the benefits and transitions, some of the benefits that we could be looking at here are, of course, a modern platform, a reduction of expenses, a reduction of paperwork, historically higher investment performance of the underlying funds, as well as access to online reporting and a more smoother transition process. So all existing and new Lincoln participants would be enrolled in the Alliance platform going forward once the transition happens. That means it's not something where we're looking at multiple different type of changes on, do I contribute here or do I contribute here? But instead, everyone would be that's participating in the 457 Lincoln would use this less expensive and easier to use platform. All future contributions would go to that platform. And then existing participants can choose, if they like, to keep their current balance in the multi-fund platform, or they could transfer that balance to the new Alliance platform. Now, at many of our plans, when we make this transition, there's a sweep done where you just move directly from multi-fund to Alliance. But in this particular case, participants here at this plan will have the option, if they'd like, to keep a portion of their balance in the multi-fund platform and not have to roll everything over into the Alliance platform. So let's now talk about the costs that are associated. So currently, the multi-fund platform, a participant in there is going to pay around 1.49 to 2.2% when it comes to their total annual assets in that plan. With the new Alliance platform, this is going to be reduced to 0.67%, and that's only based off of the beginning of the plan. Over time, these charges are actually going to get lower and lower and lower based on how many assets are in the plan. But just in the beginning, right now, participants at Tarrant County that are with Lincoln are at 1.49 to 2.2%. Now we're going to be reducing that down to 0.67%. Also, if you're aware of variable annuity platforms, a lot of times you will have what are known as surrender charges that could be in place when somebody is moving out of that platform. Lincoln is waiving that completely for those that are transitioning into Alliance. And to be blunt about why that is, Lincoln is trying to remove any barrier to any reason why a plan would still have the multi-fund plan. The Alliance platform is cheaper for the participants. It's a better experience. And so by doing this, it eliminates that last barrier of concern that someone might have in regards to that move from multi-fund to Alliance. I talked about the idea that the actual cost associated with the plans will actually decrease over time. So if you see here, expected assets when we implement the plan would be somewhere around $2.5 million. But as the plan continues to grow and as more money is moved from the Alliance platform to the multi-fund platform, that cost will get even lower and even lower to participants. So it's going to be something that's going to be enjoyed by all of the participants that are there because they're going to have better performance as well as have a better experience with the costs that are associated with the platform. So the move from multi-fund to Alliance, one of the most important parts about this is that paperwork issue. Today, if you're enrolling into the plan, there is a lot of paperwork that are involved. As you speak to the benefits office, they can really attest to, wow, this is a lot of paperwork. I wish there was a way to make this an easier experience. Well, that's what happens here. It becomes an easier experience because now it's a more modern platform and the participants will be protected. They will make sure that they know the rules and everything dealing with that plan, but they can do it with the click of a button, which makes it a greater experience for the participant. There are also, it makes it easier when it comes to distribution requests, and as well as making sure that we're keeping track of overall performance of the plan itself. The target date funds in the Alliance platform are some of the best Morningstar rated funds that are out there. That is what's provided in the Alliance platform, which again, a lot of times when people are participating in these employer-sponsored plans, it's the QDIA or the target date funds that people participate in. So knowing that you have a Morningstar rated fund with a 1 next to it, meaning top performer, that would be great for the participants of Tarrant County, great for the employees, knowing that even if they're just picking the button for the target date fund, they're getting the better experience for participating in the plan. Easy to access plan reports will be available. Right now, if you're wanting to get a plan report on how the 457 is doing, at Tarrant County, it's become a more burdensome process because it is using the old multi-fund platform. that's going to be going away. At this point, we're going to have easy, up-to-date. You need to get a tracking on how the plan is doing, how we're benchmarking against other plans that are out there. You'll easily be able to do that with the Alliance platform because it's going to be a much easier experience. Again, a click of a button, a modern experience. So what does that transition process look like? Well, there's two major key components to it. It's the plan design meeting and the service contract process. The biggest thing about the plan design meeting, and the easiest way for us to be able to explain that, is it's simply like this. Our Lincoln is going to meet with the benefits, meets with the benefits office. There's a team that's together. We find out how you're doing it today, and we integrate the Alliance platform into what you're doing today. Again, the resources that used to go to multi-fund, Lincoln has transitioned those resources specifically for the purpose of making this an easy transition. They want this to be the easiest transition possible for someone that's switching over from multi-fund to Alliance to make it a better process for the participants in the plan. So after we have the plan design meeting, the service contract, right now the service contract with Lincoln reads multi-fund, and the service contract will be updated so that it reads Alliance, and that's done through the benefits office. After the plan design is done, they will then present to the court at that time. But this is the Lincoln 457 transition from multi-fund to Alliance. Again, we are excited about the opportunity to be able to serve participants here. I've been serving participants for quite some time. Crystal has been servicing even a longer time even before that. So we are excited about the opportunity to continue to work with the participants, but in the employees of Tarrant County, but to be able to provide a better experience going forward, a less expensive experience going forward, and of course, an easier experience for the Human Resources Department. Are there any particular questions that you asked?
Just one.
Mm-hmm.
How many Tarrant County employees do you serve?
Sure. So currently today, there are 212 participants in the 457 plan at Lincoln.
Thank you.
And that, and you said about 2.5 million?
Say it one more time.
About 2.5 million in assets?
No, actually, we actually manage around $9.5 million in assets. So when I went over the projection on the part about saying 2.5 million, what I was really referring to there is that in the beginning, although we're going to do a lot of marketing and efforts to the participants to meet with them to move money over to Alliance, the multi-fund, we all know that there could sometimes be a lull sometimes in that move, right? So in the beginning, we would expect that at least $2.5 million moves over in the first month, and it may take a little bit of time to move the remaining assets over time as we continue to meet with participants to make it an easier experience.
Okay. Amber, do you have any comments or any thoughts or concerns?
No, sir. We'll come back to you with the service.
Come on forward.
Sorry.
Thank you, Lawrence. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Lawrence. Enjoy working with Lincoln and their availability for our employees. They're always very cooperative and very flexible. No concerns. We'll come back to the court once we have our plan design meeting and present the service contract for the transition.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thanks.
Thank you.
So we have one final briefing item, and that is item number C. And Amber's going to do that also. This is the member cost share waiver for COVID-19 testing.
So if you recall, on November 23rd, you did approve the extension of the member cost share waiver for in-network and out-of-network benefits related to the COVID-19 testing, test-related visits, diagnosis, and treatment under the PBC medical plans. That extension does go through December 31st of this year. And we just wanted to come back and give you an opportunity to have a discussion about this item, to see what your thoughts are moving forward. If you're interested in recommending perhaps that we continue this into plan year 2022. We do have a PBC board meeting upcoming on January 26th, where this item should come up, and if it is approved by the board, it is an all or nothing decision where, in other words, individual member entities cannot decide to continue on their own to do the member waiver for the COVID-related claims. But kind of wanted to give an opportunity to come back to you guys to discuss.
So what you're saying is, tell us currently where we are and what our options would be.
So right now, this is ending December 31st, which means January 1, any claims that come through related to COVID diagnosis, treatment, testing, vaccines, that would then fall on the member. So they would pay their typical copay. If they're on the PPO plan, for example, they would be paying their portion, where right now the county is covering the cost.
All the costs.
100%.
And so what you're saying is that it'll be a decision that the PBC board will make, and that will basically cover everyone.
Correct.
But just to remind the court at least, in order for anything to pass on PBC, first there has to be a representative from, an elected official representative from Tarrant and Dallas. And when the vote goes, is it that the vote has to be, I just think that in order to have the vote, there has to be an elected official from both Tarrant and Dallas there, and then however the vote goes.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I would be in favor of continuing the current policy.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay.
And that's to cover, or, because.
So, could we have said that we would cover all costs associated with this as long as you had received the vaccination and the booster? Or is that going to be, are we going to be able to break it down to that degree?
I don't believe we'll be able to break it down. No, sir.
Okay. If we could, does that change in any way
It does not.
Okay, so your feeling is whether we're not going to do that as far as trying to encourage folks to go ahead and do that. Okay, that's just what we need to know.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
That's all we have at this time.
Lisa's got a puzzled look on her face. Just a puzzled look, okay. Then we'll recess our open meeting and proceed to close and discuss items exempt under section 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code, and 0725. What's 0725? Do we do that regularly?
Off the top of my head, Judge, no? Yeah.
Blink if you're back there.
One.
Having returned from closed session and there being no business to conduct at this time, we stand adjourned. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Glenn.
Merry Christmas.
And to Brenda.
I will pass that along.
Brenda the Saint.
More than that.